Welcome back, Trev. Got one here from why more and more Canadians are starting to hate Indians. Desi Bros, slow it down.
Please leave. You're not welcome in Canada with that attitude. You will never take over. Too late. We have already taken over. Look around, man. We are all here only. India is empty. We are all in Canada. We are going to work in telemarketing and call you at 1 a.m. Even if you are on the do not call list. We will scam all your grandparents. We will replace your solid bed sheets with floral designs. We are going to dance in Young and Danda Square. Soon you will be gone.
So here's what went down on August 3rd in Canada. Thousands of Hindu devotees basically flooded into Toronto, specifically the Hindu Heritage Cultural Center in Mississauga, for the big reveal of this massive Ram deity statue. Now get this, the statue itself is about 50 feet tall,
Damn.
but with the base, we're talking nearly 60 feet total. That makes it officially the tallest Hindu statue in all of North America. The thing is sitting pretty close to Toronto's Pearson International Airport, and the
Wow.
Hindu folks who showed up for the ceremony were pumped about it. They were saying how every passenger flying into Toronto would see this giant Indian deity as their first landmark from the plane. Pretty bold move, right? But here's
Conquered.
where things got spicy. The unveiling didn't exactly get a warm welcome from regular Canadians. People started throwing around comments like Canada's turning into India 2.0. Some folks were straight up calling it cultural invasion, saying they're not seeing multiculturalism anymore, just one culture taking over everything.
That's a
And
good
this
point.
isn't the first rodeo either. Last year in Brampton, Toronto, Hindu communities put up another massive statue, this one of Hanuman, standing about 55 feet tall. Same drama, same pushback from locals. With Indians flooding into Canada, these
Hey, and the government's letting them do it, so blame the government. You shouldn't really be blaming the Indians. It's who's letting so many Indians in the country and why? And why are they coming in such numbers unvetted? There's no tap. The spigot is just let loose to run amok and flood the country with this kind of shit. It's the fault of the government. That's simple. You know not to bring too many people of one culture to a country and that they'll displace the original. This is common sense. I don't even blame them for doing that or bringing in their third world etiquette where they're like shitting in the. Did you see the signs? I think they were in Canada, on the beaches. They had signs on the beaches to not take a shit on the beach. The fuck? You deserve everything. You deserve this because you're allowing people to come in that shouldn't be coming. And they're not integrating into Canadian culture when you have to put up signs saying don't shit on the beach. The fuck, dude?
statues are popping up everywhere like mushrooms after rain, and Canadians are getting nervous that what's
Yeah, I used to be of the mindset of like blame all the migrants, blame them for. Yes, on a personal level, especially with heinous crimes, you do blame them. But for cultural change like this, I don't. They're doing what is naturally expected of them when you bring in a monolith and then it displaces the native population, a whole culture. Indian culture. Of course, they're going to put in their statues and make their own communities and hire their own and continue to speak their own language and have preferential treatment for their own above the natives. Of course, you bring them in by the millions. You do not institute any policies to force them to integrate, like you must learn the language, you must hire a certain amount of native Canadians, you must blah, blah, blah into society to smooth over integration in some way or another. Nothing, zero. You just come here, left to your own devices, and then you do this with millions of people, and then you have parallel society springing up. This is the parallel society springing up. And what he said earlier was true. You are going to be replaced because they're coming over and they're having 6, 7, 8 kids while you have one or none. You will wake up one day in a few generations and it will be nothing but their people and very little of your own. And they will come into power. They will seize power through demographics alone. And your nation will change practically what seems like overnight. You deserve this. This is the conversation natives should be having with the government. This is all reversible. You could kick every single one of them out. These people are not citizens. They're not Canadians. They're guests in this country. They have work permits. They're on their way trying to get citizenship. Naturalized citizenship can be revoked. That's not permanent. You have a citizenship in another country. But these conversations, Canadians are too polite to have. And maybe they are starting to have them here. But yeah, I don't blame the people, dude. As a whole, for the cultural shifts happening. For heinous crimes, sure. I blame the government is the ones allowing this to happen. So when you hear headlines, like I just saw one in Croatia and in Serbia and even in Romania and other places, like, 100,000 foreign workers are being imported into the country to help with labor shortage. In Serbia, they have a 20% or more unemployment rate for the youth. They literally have the workers needed, but they still choose to bring in 100,000 workers to pay them low wages to continue making maximum profit. This is exploitation. And at the same time, destabilizing society by bringing in hundreds of thousands of people that literally change the demographics of a small town in Europe overnight. And then you get that disconnect between cultures that causes the crimes, right? The thefts, the murders, the grooming gangs, all the stuff that you see happening in the UK. This all gets reproduced over and over and over again. This is what multiculturalism gets you.
Started as population changes is turning into some kind of religious takeover. India just became the world's most populated country, and with their domestic job market being what it is, tons of Indians are looking to get out. By 2025, Canada's got about 2 million Indian immigrants, which is over 5% of the whole Canadian population. And that's not even counting all the work visas, tourist visas, student visas, and let's be honest, probably a bunch of people who've overstayed their welcome. As more Indians keep coming, Canada's dealing with some serious social headaches. The thing is, Indians have pretty different lifestyle habits, and most Canadians aren't exactly thrilled about it. The reputation Indians have in Canada keeps getting worse and worse.
现在印度没人了呀，印度人都去加拿大了，加拿大都快被印度殖民了，你知道吗？从加拿大跟印度人能排队坐那个地铁，加拿大人他都挤不上去，因为印度人会插队。
Is this a white dude speaking Mandarin talking about Chinese?
你知道吗？那印度人一插队，加拿大人就说 "Where are you from?" "I'm from Canada." 就这个事太严重了，现在加拿大全是印度人。印度人在加拿大他们还有一个特点，就是他们急着上洗手间的时候，他不搞洗手间，他搞沙滩。现在加拿大海岸那个沙滩就是一个巨大的。
Please leave. You're not welcome in Canada with that attitude. You will never take over.
Indian immigrants. Well, first off, there's the whole hygiene situation. Once one Indian family moves into a neighborhood, boom, within a year you've got multiple Indian families moving in. As their numbers grow, the problems start stacking up. The most infamous incident was the beach bathroom fiasco. Back in July 2024, at Wasaga Beach in Ontario.
Yeah, look, dude, he's straight up dookied on the beach.
People discovered some Indian immigrant
Look at that. Bro, they're all dookie. Look at him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just lined up, taken. Wow, straight dookies all over.
Were literally using the beach as their personal toilet.
You see?
They even set up tents as makeshift bathrooms. The beautiful beach turned into a stinking mess, and tourists started avoiding the place like the plague. And guess what? The problem's getting worse. Just this August, Alberta Health Services had to issue a water quality advisory for Calling Lake Provincial Park Beach because of elevated fecal bacteria levels in the water. They're telling people not to swim or wade there because you could get seriously sick from the contaminated water.
They're washing themselves. Look.
Apparently, more and more Indians have been treating lakes like their personal bathrooms, and now entire beach areas are getting shut down for public safety. When the original Wasaga Beach videos went viral, some Indians defended it as traditional customs, nothing to get worked up about. Indian media.
Bro, stop. They called it racial discrimination. Bro, chill. Let me shit on the beach in peace, bro. We're out in the open. I just want to take a squat. I do it in my home country. Stop making me forget the culture I come from. Let me practice it. You're such a racist. That's fucking wild. We're defending shitting on beaches.
Yeah, and netizens even called it racial discrimination. The Canadian government investigated, but didn't have the guts to actually criticize or punish anyone.
Again.
Then there's the resource hogging issue. Indians stick together like glue. Everyone knows that. One Indian makes it to Canada, and surprise, surprise, their entire extended family follows within months. This in-a-colony style of migration means Indian families in Canada keep getting bigger and bigger. They're not just using up tons of Canadian welfare benefits, they're also taking job opportunities away from locals.
Yeah, blame the government. Hey, there are people that stick together and have strong family bonds. Maybe the West should shut the fuck up and do a little bit of that too. Why don't you stick together, help your own? Why don't you have large families? Why don't you help your own blood get ahead? Our problem in the West is we're too focused on individualism. Yeah? Get it on your own. 18 years old, kick them out the house. Forget about the kids. Let them, throw them out there to the wolves and let them make it. We don't have large extended families anymore. We're very selfish. Super selfish culture here in the West. And we're getting destroyed because people that have family first in mind come over, multiply like rabbits, and then use each other's potential economically for resources to get ahead, buy houses, multiple houses. And they grow and grow stronger while your tribe grows weaker and weaker because you want to be strong and independent and you want to get it on your own and you don't need no man or I don't want no woman and fuck that, the sister, yeah. Here's people coming over using family as like the linchpin to all their economic success while you're out here roughing it on your own. Unreal, dude. We also have cultural rot in our system that's causing this to happen. Not just the political part, the government failing on its duty, but the people. We're so divided, distracted. We hate each other. We're fighting with each other over the dumbest little things. Meanwhile, people are coming over here 20, 30, 40, 50 fucking deep in families and carving out a whole living in society. That's a joke, dude. This should be as much as a disparagement on Western culture, white families, as it is on Indians coming over, honestly. White people, get your fucking shit together. You're literally being taken over and replaced by people that come over and still poop on the beach. And you say you are of the superior culture. You're the more progressive culture. You're the ones they should assimilate to. You're going to get fucking erased in just a couple of decades. If we consider culture almost like its own organism and Mother Nature by just default action of living amongst another culture, yours is the one that's getting replaced, then you have the inferior culture. If anything, the current form of Western white culture is inferior. If this is what if this is what we're watching happening here, that you're getting replaced, that these people are getting better jobs, that they're coming over in such high numbers and your government does nothing about it, that they're getting in positions of power, that they hire their own, are getting educated and getting ahead, then white culture is the problem. Then white culture is the one that's being replaced because Mother Nature deems it to be inferior. It cannot compete naturally. Do you see what's happening? So we need to have a real conversation here when we speak about Western culture, white culture, whatever fuck name you want to give it, that when other people from other countries come, they start to thrive, or that they game our system and still do better. They could be through fraud or, whatever it is, like the CDL drivers that are getting licenses and driving without having the proper certification. So our system is weak. There are cracks forming somewhere that's allowing other people to take advantage. And if you're allowing this advantage to be taken, then that means your culture is shit. You want me to defend what here? Canadians, look at this video. You want to defend Canadian culture for allowing this to happen? You want me to defend Canadian family planning, the nuclear family in Canada, when you're not even having babies? We have to take a hard look at ourselves as Westerners and have some real conversations out in the open. It's very easy to point the finger at migrants and all that stuff. And yeah, it does get you up in a tizzy a bit when you see like a dude taking a turn and killing 3 people because he came in here with, illegal. He crossed illegally, got illegal credentials, no credentials. He fucking committed fraud to get his license, and then he kills people and he can't even read fucking road signs and stuff like that. Like, yeah, there's a lot that has failed along the way for that initial point to happen. But you would want to blame all migrants are the problem. Yeah, mass migration is a problem. Migrants are a problem. Sure. But who let it happen? Can we go deeper to another level deeper still? Who let it happen? Why are they letting it happen? Who benefits financially from letting this happen? Start with those people. Jeez.
Plus, Indian immigrants usually only want to hire their own people, shutting out everyone else. Speaking of Indian populations in Canada, there's actually an Indian blogger who made a whole video about this. The guy basically created a travel guide for the 5 Canadian cities with the most Indian population. He's telling potential tourists they can totally avoid these places if they want to, but if you're into Indian culture or you're Indian yourself, these might be your go-to spots.
Top 5 Canadian cities with the most Indian population. Number 1, you got Toronto, Ontario. Toronto has the largest Indo-Canadian population in Canada. Most Indo-Canadians in Toronto, they live around Brampton, Markham, Scarborough, Etobicoke, and Mississauga, but mainly Brampton. Number 2, Vancouver, British Columbia. Vancouver is home to the 2nd largest Indo-Canadian population in Canada with a significant presence in Surrey, Burnaby, Richmond, Abbotsford, and Delta. Number 3, you got Calgary, Alberta. Calgary has a growing Indo-Canadian community primarily in the northeastern and eastern parts of the city.
By the way, the first thing these people do, and it's any immigrant in general, is you go to locations where there are other people of your own, right? and you get hooked up with jobs, you get hooked up with driver's license, you get hooked up with lawyers, real estate agents, anything you need. And they all speak, obviously, both English and Hindi or whatever language it is that you speak, right? From wherever community you come from. You could use anybody. So what happens is you have the ones that have been there for a few decades, and then they're incentivized both financially but culturally to help fresh arrivals. So what happens is if you're a real estate agent, right, and there's a bunch of properties listed for sale, and you are, let's just say, Indian Canadian, what you're going to want to do, because you get a lifelong potential client, but also it's your own people that you want to help. So you're in a unique position to be able to help these people that are, say, fresh arrivals or still fresh in the country secure homes, because you're going to get paid. And then you build up a reputation within the community that this is the guy that you want to go see if you're Indian in order to secure yourself a loan for a house. This is the guy working at the bank who will approve your loan that you want to speak to, because coming here, you know this guy, you'll get set up nice. Do you know how much business that guy will get for servicing his community? It's just a natural thing that happens. And then the natives have no idea. You think these people are going to go and speak to the same people you speak to, deal with the same things that you deal with, go through the same hoops that you go through? Come on, man. They're going to use every advantage they can. This is completely natural. And this is why you want to avoid mass migration. Look at the communities that are being carved up right before your very eyes. 50-foot statue of Hindu gods in Canada. And it will only keep growing because your government. And look, it says, this guy says, I wasn't racist before, but I think I am now. You shouldn't blame them. I don't blame them. That's what I've come to understand here and realize is that you bring a third world culture, mass scale into your countries, you will have third world conditions. So then who had the open borders? The government. All the blame should go on the politicians. Simply blaming some family coming over and living 12 deep in a house and working their way up and buying a house in your neighborhood and them living in their, whatever it is true to their culture that you don't like, and it's displacing the peace, the status quo in your community. Blame the government for letting them in. They're just doing what everybody would do. They would just like, nobody would complain if Japanese people moved to their country or Germans moved to their country and they made a nice neighborhood that's all proper, everything functioning correctly and law and order and very orderly people, right? Some of the most orderly people in the world are like Japanese and the Germans, right? It's just a well-known thing. They love their order. They're very anal about details. Now, you would have to see if they came in a large enough numbers that they would bring their culture and their customs, their way of life to that place. So your community would be filled with order, a high degree of orderliness, attention to detail, right? And they would hire their own. Of course they would. They would help out their own first. They would carve out their own society. It's just that those cultures are deemed much nicer to import or to emulate because they have certain values that we attribute as positive, as opposed to shitting on the beach. That's the difference here. But hey, it's easy to just point the finger at, an individual or a group while the government keeps this happening. That way you get poorer and poorer and less housing and wages are stagnant and corporations are using all this cheap labor to make record profits while you get less and less money. Cost of living is exploding. So we all get poor, including the migrants that come, will then struggle because the ones that come after them will struggle. It won't be, the land of milk and honey anymore because it's hard to make it. There's also Indian channels that are talking about how much harder it is to make it now in Canada. No shit. Because wages, labor is being exploited by both government and corporations. So, yeah, anywho, we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care of yourselves.